Welcome, brave souls. Tonight, you'll step into a world where nightmares are not mere dreams, but gateways to something far darker. Beware, for once you enter, there may be no escape from the shadows that seek to claim you. Watch closely. The demon is always watching, waiting.
It began subtly, a strange dream that I brushed off as nothing more than a fleeting nightmare. I found myself in a dimly lit room, the air thick with an unnatural chill. The only sound was my breathing, echoing off the walls. Emma was by my side, her face pale and worried. She gripped my hand tightly. "Do you feel that?" she whispered, her voice trembling. I didn't feel anything, but her fear unsettled me more than the darkness around us. Suddenly the room grew darker, the shadows on the walls seeming to shift on their own. From the corners I heard whispers, low, almost too faint to hear, but undeniably there. They felt like a warning, but from what I didn't know. I reached for Emma, but my hand passed through her like smoke. She faded into the shadows, her terrified eyes the last thing I saw before she disappeared. Panic gripped me as I shouted her name, but my voice was swallowed by the whispers. The walls began to close in, pressing against me. I could feel a presence, something ancient and evil lurking just beyond the edge of my vision. I couldn't see it, but I could feel its eyes on me, watching, waiting. As I struggled to breathe, I heard Emma's voice, faint and distant. "It's coming," she said over and over, her words blending with the whispers. A cold dread washed over me as I realized I couldn't wake up. I was trapped. I jolted awake in a cold sweat, my heart racing. Emma lay beside me, sound asleep, unaware of the terror I had just experienced. I told myself it was just a dream, but deep down I knew something had followed me back from that nightmare. The following night, the dream returned. This time I was alone in a vast, empty field under a moonless sky. The ground was barren, and the air was still. I called out for Emma, but my voice echoed back to me, unanswered. I started walking, though I had no idea where I was going. The whispers were back, louder now, coming from all directions. Each step I took seemed to pull me deeper into the darkness, and with each step, the whispers grew more menacing. In the distance, I saw a figure, a tall, gaunt shadow standing perfectly still. It was far away, but I could feel its eyes on me, watching my every move. I tried to turn back, but my legs wouldn't obey. I was being drawn toward it. As I approached, the figure began to change. Its form twisted, becoming something inhuman, its limbs elongated, and its face distorted into a grotesque grin. It didn't move, but I felt its presence growing stronger, suffocating me. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. My body was frozen in place, paralyzed by the overwhelming sense of dread that filled the air. The whispers had become deafening now, and I could make out the words, "You cannot escape." The figure reached out, its long, claw-like fingers brushing against my skin. The touch burned like fire, and I felt a searing pain shoot through my body. My vision blurred as I tried to break free, but it was too late. I was trapped. I woke up gasping, my body drenched in sweat. Emma was still asleep, peaceful and unaware. I shook her awake, but she didn't understand the terror I had just endured. I couldn't shake the feeling that the dream was more than just a nightmare. It was a warning. The next few nights were the same. The dreams came without fail, and each time the figure grew closer. I tried to stay awake, but no matter how hard I fought, sleep always claimed me in the end. In one dream, I found myself back in our bedroom, but it wasn't the same. The walls were covered in dark, pulsating veins, and the air smelled of decay. Emma stood by the window, staring out into the night. I called out to her, but she didn't respond. As I approached, she slowly turned to face me. Her eyes were black, void of any life. "It's here," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the now familiar whispers that filled the room. I turned toward the door, and there it was, the demon, standing in the doorway. Its skin was pale and stretched tight over its bones, and its eyes glowed a sickly yellow. It grinned at me, revealing rows of jagged teeth. I tried to run, but the room seemed to warp around me. The floor stretched out and the walls closed in, trapping me with the demon. It moved closer, its breath hot and foul against my skin. "You belong to me now," it hissed. I could feel its hands on me, cold and clawed, dragging me toward it. I struggled, but my body wouldn't respond. The whispers grew louder, filling my mind with thoughts of despair and hopelessness. Just as the demon's claws closed around my throat, I woke up again, gasping for air. This time, Emma was sitting up in bed, her face pale and frightened. "I saw it too," she whispered, her voice trembling. The dream had come for both of us. By the fourth night, Emma and I were both afraid to sleep. We stayed up as long as we could, but eventually, exhaustion claimed us. The dream returned, more vivid than ever before. We were both in the same nightmare this time. The demon stood between us, grinning with satisfaction. It seemed stronger now, more real, as if it had gained power from our fear. The room around us was crumbling, the walls breaking apart and revealing a void of swirling darkness. The demon stepped closer, its eyes glowing brighter with each step. "We have to wake up," I shouted, but the words felt hollow. I tried to shake Emma awake, but she was frozen, her eyes wide with terror. The demon's claws reached for her, and I knew I had to act fast. I lunged at the demon, but it was like hitting solid stone. It didn't even flinch. Instead, it turned its attention to me, its eyes narrowing. "You cannot save her," it whispered, and I felt a cold chill run down my spine. The demon's claws wrapped around my throat, squeezing tightly. I could feel my life slipping away as its grip tightened. The room spun, and the whispers filled my ears, telling me there was no escape. As my vision faded, I saw Emma being pulled into the darkness by the demon. Her screams echoed in my mind as I lost consciousness. I woke up alone, in our bed, but Emma was gone. She never woke up. Days passed and there was no sign of Emma. I searched everywhere, but it was as if she had vanished from existence. No one remembered her, not even her own family. It was as if she had never been real. The dreams didn't stop. Every night the demon returned, taunting me with the memory of her. It showed me visions of her trapped in the darkness, screaming for help that I couldn't give. I tried everything, medications, sleep deprivation, anything to stop the dreams. But nothing worked. Each night, I found myself back in that nightmare, face to face with the demon that had taken her from me. My mind began to unravel. I could no longer tell where the dream ended and reality began. The demon's whispers followed me even in my waking hours, a constant reminder that I would never escape. I became a shell of the man I once was, haunted by the memory of Emma and the knowledge that I had failed her. The demon had taken her, and now it was coming for me. One night as I lay in bed, I felt a familiar chill wash over me. I knew what was coming, and this time I didn't fight it. The demon appeared at the foot of my bed, its eyes glowing in the darkness. "It's time," it whispered, and I welcomed the darkness. As it wrapped its claws around me, I closed my eyes, knowing there was no escape. Emma and I would be together again, but not in the way I had hoped.
The story may have ended, but nightmares have a way of clinging to you, following you into the dark. Tonight, when the shadows lengthen and you feel that creeping dread, remember, some nightmares don't end when you wake up. If this story left you uneasy and you crave more terror, hit the like and subscribe button. The real nightmare is only just beginning.